Okay, so we'll make a start on this week's trip. We're talking about training the upper body, which is probably the most complicated section of the body, if you like, to train, based on largely its anatomy and the way it functions, I suppose. So to start with, we're going to go through a bit of the background knowledge as usual. We're going to talk about a simplification of how to train it from my perspective, which I stole most of it from that guy, Charlie Weingraf, of Strength Coach podcast number 62. It was changed my world when it came to exercising the shoulder and how to do it, I suppose, from a movement-based approach like we talked about all along, as opposed to training specific muscles. Given how complicated it is and how I don't think the shoulder is trained that well necessarily from a progression-based approach, we're going to spend a bit of time practically on how I would do that as well, just so you guys can get a feel for a few exercises. Thinking about glenohumeral joint stability, you guys have heard me talk about before. I don't think theraband internal and external rotations are the way to get the rotator cuff functioning how you want it to function. That's a training muscles, not movement approach. If you want to strengthen the rotator cuff and maybe teaching the rotator cuff to function and stabilize the glenohumeral joint, there's no instability that needs to control. So the major three ways that we're going to cover in terms of progressing movements in the shoulder is talking about progressing through planes of motion, progressing the motion itself, and progressing the position that we're training. So that'll make more sense later. So the background stuff, again, joint by joint approach, so you've got this going with this. The thoracic spine, as we talked about last tube that I did 3 weeks ago. Thoracic spine is largely going to be mobile. If it's not mobile, the scapular-thoracic region and the shoulder plexus is going to lose its integrity. So probably one of the most often missed areas when it comes to the shoulder. If someone's stuck in kyphosis, then that shoulder's not going to function how we want it to function because it's not in its accurate, proper orientation. So fixing the thoracic spine, getting appropriate thoracic mobility. It's funny how a lot of shoulder issues clear up pretty quick when you do that. Then obviously the scapular-thoracic joint, we'll talk about it a bit more in a second. It's primarily a stable joint, glenohumeral joint we want mobility. It's an example again where it's not black and white. You've obviously got a lot of glenohumeral joint instabilities and people are trying to train stability there. If it's not mobile, then the joints around it won't function properly. So it's about having the right amount of extra. So the scapular-thoracic joint, it's a floating joint because there is no bony attachment there. The scapula literally sits on top of the thoracic rib cage, I suppose, a thoracic cage, and is controlled entirely by muscles. It moves through extreme ranges of motion. Think about where it can move. It can move through any plane of motion. You can upwardly rotate, you can downwardly rotate, you can protract and retract, you can abduct, adduct the shoulder, with the shoulder blade on the thoracic spine, and the rib cage. It's really, really complicated. And then when you look at the glenohumeral joint on top, which we'll get to in a second, and the way they function together, it's how it becomes the most complicated series of joints to work. Because even if you look at something like shoulder flexion, not only do you have the scapula and the glenohumeral joint moving through that range of motion, you actually also require a little bit of thoracic extension. So synergistic movement of so many different joints all at once to make movement through the shoulder and overhead work efficient is so incredibly complicated. Why I'm going to come back to a massive simplification of it. I think people spend too much time going into, oh, well, you've got a little hitch at this degree of movement, we need to strengthen this muscle. Well, you could look at it like that, or we can simplify it potentially a little bit as well. As I said, primarily stable, despite the fact that there is no, I suppose, bony structural integrity. So it does rely very heavily on active structures. I'll talk more about that in a second, and the importance of thoracic posture is crucial. The glenohumeral joint is a very poor joint congruency, which allows it to be so mobile, and allows us to get through such massive range of motion. So only about bony attachment is then going to be through the clavicle, through the sternoclavicular joint. So all of this work through our entire shoulder, the only point that attaches to your body through bony attachments is right here through this tiny little joint that is very insignificant in the scheme of things. So as I said, high demand on dynamic stability. It functions very depending on the scapular-thoracic region. So if the scapular-thoracic joint isn't functioning well, you have to ever see a painful shoulder where there wasn't some level of scap dyskinesia or basically scap movement dysfunction. So strength training, remember this, I put this in about 4 tubes so far. Strength training is coordination-based training with increased resistance. Never forget that. So when we look at theraband external rotations, how is that coordination-based training? It's not at all. It's muscle isolation. So when I did the FMS course, the guy that ran that, Dr. Kyle Kiesel, who is, if you listen to enough FMS stuff, he's one of the major guys that is involved with that group. And he happened to take the course, and I was talking to him about it, and about how training the shoulder and what his thoughts are. And he said this is an unofficial quote, it's just something he said to me, and I had to scribble down the past. If you're doing theraband external rotations to improve glenohumeral joint stability, you are behind the times. Because we know that while it has a very small role in training the shoulder, it's not really going to improve the dynamic stability of the glenohumeral joint. So if you think about the corrective exercise progression that we talked about a little bit recently, we need breathing to be set. We talked about training the pillar, that if breathing's not set, the pillar is not going to function properly, and therefore thoracic spine is likely to be off. If the thoracic spine's off and the scapulothoracic joint's off, the loads going through the glenohumeral joint are going to be altered. That's not going to be ideal. So breathing, appropriate mobility we talked about. Again, it probably comes largely back to the thoracic region. There are going to be potentially some glenohumeral joint mobility restrictions, but I haven't really had to focus on that too much in training the shoulder, because when you set the other stuff, that mobility tends to open up forward quite often. So the major ones we're going to focus on today is static motor control and dynamic motor control. We're going to talk about this a lot more when we get to the way that we're going to progress. In the very next slide, we talk about progressions and how it's appropriate to the shoulder. So there's millions of ways to progress any exercise and any, I suppose, dysfunction that you want to train. But when it comes to the shoulder, the way I want you to think about it is these 3 major things. And if you wanted to simplify it even further, go with 2 major things. So you've got planes of motion. So anything in the sagittal plane is always going to be easiest, which is anything moving forwards and backwards. Think your basic squat movement, your basic deadlift, everything happening in this plane of motion is sagittal plane. You think more often than not we push and pull in this plane as well. Yeah? Then if you go in the frontal plane, that's anything this way. So anything, and this is what happens a lot more in sport, that we don't train often enough in the gym, and we're potentially single leg and single arm training. And you think about single leg where you're starting to get that frontal plane demand. In sport, we tend to have to push off that way as we run out for a mark. We don't really ever do any pushing this way. I don't have a good way of training it at this stage either, really. But when it comes to things like static motor control, if you like, with the shoulder, you've got a side plane, and you've got almost like an isometric push out laterally there and getting some stability and integrity through the shoulder through that frontal plane. And then lastly, the transverse plane, so anything rotation. So any sort of pushing across your body, rotational bed ball push that we practiced a few weeks ago with the training. Positions non-provocative to mid-provocative to provocative. I'm not a huge fan of those because it implies that anything up here is going to provoke pain. But in painful shoulders, that's the most likely region to be getting pain. Mid-provocative is anything 9 degrees flexion and abduction. And non-provocative is down here. You get to see too many shoulders that get pain when you load them down here. So, non-provocative, mid-provocative, provocative. And static to dynamic. And we've already talked about static motor control and then dynamic motor control. So until you show me that you can stabilise movement in static mid-provocative zone, you're not pushing or pulling on anything in that zone. That makes sense? So if someone, if they're holding a front plank on their hands and they're here, they don't have integrity there. They can't stabilise with appropriate positioning in that spot. I'm not going to let them push or pull, because if they do that, they're going to end up potentially really heavy weights getting some sort of shoulder impingement, shoulder dysfunction. Dysfunction is likely to lead to pain. So static to dynamic. So until they show you that they can stabilise without movement in a position, theoretically they shouldn't move in that position. Does that make sense? Do you have any questions about that? No? So as I've said so far, forget muscles. Just take yourself through this. So some examples of this, think about that non-provocative static zone. So most shoulders are going to be happy down here. If there's no movement going on, they're not going to have pain. They're unlikely to have pain. So you can load them here, and you can teach them posture, and you can teach them scap setting, and start to give them some joint proprioception and strength and integrity resilience to load in that position. So if you think about something like a farmer's walk or a suitcase carry, even anything holding something in a suitcase like I've got up there, if you think about, you can do, if you've got someone that's got a bit of issues with their shoulder, if you were to do a back squat with them versus a trap bar squat or a suitcase squat, where they're holding weights just down here and squatting up and down, they're more likely to get some, or they are getting some work in terms of teaching them shoulder integrity and shoulder positioning. Yeah? Not likely to hurt them, teaching them good posture. I've got down there now dynamic in this non-provocative zone, so sort of down here, starting to move. If you look at like a deadlift, as you move through range of motion there's an element of maybe about 45 degrees of shoulder flexion, depending on the depth and range of the deadlift, maybe out all the way up to that mid-provocative zone. It would be if I was to only ever be allowed to do, no, that's probably not true. If I was only ever allowed to do one exercise to rehab shoulder, it would probably be a Turkish get-up. If I was allowed to do two, the second one would probably be a deadlift. Because if you think about when you're at the bottom of a deadlift, the amount of force, you're holding a decent amount of weight, the amount of force you're having to stabilise against a good posture in shoulder retraction under heavy load there, all of a sudden when they drop that bar, staying here doesn't seem so difficult anymore. So you train them to be really strong in a good shoulder position, then their body's more likely to try and find that position when they need to. Makes sense? It is only specific to the range though, so if you're only working this sort of range in your deadlift, then it's probably not going to give you integrity. Makes sense? Trap bar squat and resisted range row. So if someone was coming all the way out to up here, then maybe, but if you were doing a short range row, that would be a nice example. A short range push, nice example of that short range, sort of non-provocative dynamic movement for the shoulder. Any questions there? So that's phase one. Phase one is static. Until they can statically maintain good postures in that position, then they probably don't go to dynamic. Another one there, I've got bicep curls and tricep push downs. Yes, they're a great exercise for getting isolated muscle work, but if you think about a bicep curl, what do most people do when they cheat? Yeah, they end up here with an anterior tilt, lose that control of the shoulder blade. So getting someone to set and control a nice shoulder blade position, they're actually having to fight that anterior tilt force, particularly eccentrically. And where do most of us end up when we've got bad posture? Anterior tilted protracted. So it's a really nice exercise to teach someone to control against that force. If you've got a seated, sorry, yeah, you can get it seated, standing, depending on where you want to go. And think about some of this stuff as well when we talk about suitcase lunges, deadlifting, trap bar squats. We want to talk about functional retraining. Standing there doing some isolated shoulder work and then going, all right, go run and play football. But you've got them through it, you know, if we went leg phase and you were doing like overhead lunges, you've got them working to stabilise through that leg there as they come up onto that other leg into that provocative, on one leg as they're driving up to punch with the other shoulder. You've got them trained through functional patterns as it is, and you've taught them to stabilise their shoulder through that functional patterns and tie it together. The other thing that quite often happens is if you've got a dysfunctional shoulder, the contralateral hip is more often than not dysfunctional as well, because of the slings, yeah? You know, the right shoulder's connected to your left hip and vice versa. So you're training through that. You start to train suitcase here, holding, you teach them scap setting, and you're teaching them through functional movement patterns. Okay. Mid-provocative. So we've got static and dynamic again here. So if someone can has static, non-provocative covered, you probably start to introduce dynamic. Most people will introduce both those two things at the same time. I can't think of anyone where they couldn't do dynamic, non-provocative straight up either because of their shoulder. So you can always introduce them pretty quickly. And the static, mid-provocative and dynamic mid-provocative is when you often start to get people start to have their issues. So something like a plank for mine again is another really nice example. If you've got, I don't know if the camera's going to be able to see this, but I just spent half that time there when people were planking. They're in this position here, going around pushing their shoulders down, getting them to set that scap and hold there. There's cheating and using your lats to be part of the core. There's getting the core to function as it should, and then your shoulder can stabilise as it should. You've got a shoulder that ends up here every time you have to do something in front of you. You've got a shoulder that's likely to get sore. Particularly if you think about someone, even someone that's sitting at a desk all day, and they end up there every time they reach forward. They can't set and work here. It's just a recipe for issues. Yeah? So playing, yeah.
Sorry, how do you coach them like out of that nutrition plan? Because I see it all the time and I try and explain that concept, but I just don't know how to do
I found the easiest way to do that is to just shove them into position.
Okay.
particularly if you haven't done, so if I was rehabbing someone specifically with their shoulder here, they probably have better awareness and you might be able to talk to them about it. Push your chest out, let your shoulders come back together. But I would often come out and I'll hold their hips and push their thoracic spine down. Because if you just push down, they'll drop through their hips.
Yeah, I used to do that, and I liked actually when I saw myself doing it, I looked at a mirror.
Yeah.
I actually do it.
You're able to do it.
What I was doing.
Probably something we don't do enough of here, because we do only have this mirror.
Yeah.
Theoretically, that's what we should be using TVs for. But giving people visual feedback is really important. A lot of the time they're like, oh, you're doing this, but when you can actually show them doing it themselves, they're like, oh, I actually am doing that, and they can fix it. As I said, side plank. So would you do plank or side plank first? No. Yeah, sagittal plank. Generally harder to stabilise out here, and you're obviously on one leg versus two. But, how many people do you talk to and do side planks that go like, geez, I just feel like he's getting a lot of work? So again, you've got an unstable force there. That shoulder is having to stabilise the entire body. You're going to tell me the rotator cuff's not working hard in that position to stabilise. And it's working hard to stabilise in a closed chain position, which is generally a pretty happy position for people to be in. It's quite a really nice position to put people to stabilise their shoulder. And then dynamic in this position. Obviously, is anything pushing or horizontal pushing or anything. Really like, we're going to go through it later. Most of you tend to do this. It's self-limiting theraband press. Sticking it. One of those mini bands around the shoulder, around the hand, and pushing forward, because as soon as they lose control of that shoulder, it comes around like that, the band won't stay on. So it's self-limiting in that if as soon as they do it wrong, the band comes flying off, they're going to learn to do it right pretty quickly. Show you that short. And then provocative is everything overhead. There's probably less options in terms of static work here, but think, as I said, you've got a lot of functional options there. You've got overhead squats, you've got overhead lunges. Things like Statue of Liberties, which is basically just holding the weight here and going for a walk. You can hold that, do this with shoulder tacking, you can have the kettlebell resting on your wrist there, or you can have it what's called bottoms up kettlebell sitting up there and pushing out. We'll show you that against the shoulder tacking stuff shortly. As I said, anything vertical pushing and pulling in different phases of the Turkish get-up are also there. The beauty of the Turkish get-up is you work through so many different ranges of the shoulder, every part of the body basically, the hip, the ankle, you're basically in a deep squat as you're coming up out of the bridge. Cool exercise there. Alright, back heels quickly. Who wants to play? Thanks, Grace. Want to lie down here for me?
Lie down on my back.
Yes. First thing I like to do, just to get an idea of the way the person likes to use their shoulder, is just say, don't let me pick you up, and see what they do first. So Grace knows what she's doing here. You can see there, it's hard to see on the video, but see how she didn't bend her elbow, she didn't squeeze the cross down my wrist, she locked in, she's using her big powerful lats to hold on to me there. She sets her shoulder, she fights me with her body. Not with her hand. You know what that looks like?
Yeah. You can try, right? I'll try and make it really good. Okay.
You'll often see exactly that, probably an exaggerated version of that. You'll see people flex their elbow, pull their wrist, and try and do that pattern there. So that's how they want to stabilize against force, not lock. Yeah. So being able to lock that shoulder in place, just like that, which is hard to see from there, and control against that. It's not an official validated test, it's just something I started doing just to see how people like to work with it. And then it tells me a lot of information. So shoulder packing drills, there's heaps of them, you can do them on your back. The major ones, I suppose, is to get someone on their back like so, get that shoulder set and engaged like Grace did. First thing I'll get them to do is just go to there, and I'm going to push down. Because if that shoulder's set well and that elbow's locked out, she's found points of stability, I could park my car on that. That's solid. Yeah, now if she lets her shoulder come a little bit forward, bends her elbow. See how that just becomes sloppy. Yeah? Versus lock, lock, strong. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to give her a kettlebell. I'm going to give it to her upside down. So this is what I talked about, bottoms up. Complicated stuff, eh? The kettlebell's bottom is up towards the roof, so we call it bottoms up. And then I'm just going to give it to her. Every time I do this, I'm going to sit here because if they lose that, I need to be here to control it. Probably tough to see on the video, maybe like bring that over. You guys can see that little wobble she's got going on. So what is she having to do? Stabilize. So you reckon her stabilize on us as well? Now if you wanted to add an extra challenge to that, Grace, intern and externally rotate your arm, keep your shoulder long. Good. Go.
Oh, sorry.
Turn. Look back. Turn right. Turn out towards me as well. So there's a nice shape going on there. She's having to learn to stabilise that. So that's it. Is that static or dynamic motor control? First one. The first one where she wasn't turning. Static. Yeah. And then starting to turn, you could argue is dynamic for the glenohumeral joint, but is it static or dynamic for the scapulothoracic joint? Static. Yeah. A really nice exercise just to get someone aware of that. Grace is probably cheating because she knows what she's doing. Yeah. Because she knows what she's doing. She knows her body pretty well. Watch people be nowhere near that good. Okay. Next version of that we can do. Go
Oh, do you want to side focus first?
You're good. Get your patients a better feel over that. I'll just up straight up again. Oh. Just hold it.
Hold on. Can you hold it for a second? Oh, sorry.
Again, I don't know if you can see that on the video, but that's shaking all over the joint. So we've gone from sagittal plane now out to frontal plane, so there's that progression. If you wanted to add some rotation to that, Grace, hold this here, let your hips roll down towards the ground.
Hold on, hold it. Oh wait, no. You want me, sorry. Yeah, no, I'm following you now. Okay. Yeah, okay. So, I know what you want me to do. Sleepy.
Tough. Hard work. Yeah. And you think about how many sports where people have to be over here. Particularly, I mean, imagine you think about the golfers if they rotate into their backswing and they're over here. They've got to learn to stabilise in that position through a rotated spine. So, really nice exercise, and again, you can add some rotation stuff to that. Yeah. Alright, actually, while you're down there, Grace, you have to do it too, just get up to all the way. Yeah. So, yeah. No drop and shoot.
Oh no.
So we're getting static motor control here. Yeah, that shoulder has to stabilise. Here we go. And driving up into a Turkish get up. Yeah. The beauty of this position here, try to move shoulder up.
What do you mean?
What have we got down the bottom here? Static or dynamic motor control? Static at the moment, but dynamic on the way up? Is it open or closed? Chain. We didn't talk about that much before, but closed chain. So you're getting closed chain shoulder stability down there, you're getting open chain shoulder stability down here, and right up here for the rest. So just open closed chain. Closed chain is basically whenever your limb, whatever you're pushing on, is on the ground on a stable force closed, versus being like holding a dumbbell with your open chain. Makes sense? So you're having to stabilise against that force versus closed chain. If you've got to push up, you have to stabilise against that. So if you want to progress that, again, you can do this here, or bottoms up again. Good. Now drive up for the rest.
Do you remember how to do it?
So the leg line up in there is not a good thing, but you can do that for now. Drive that shoulder up. Watch this kettlebell. Watch the kettlebell. Up. Try and keep on wrist there. Never underestimate the importance of grip and wrist positioning in shoulder stability. If you let your wrist go floppy, do Grace. See how that kettlebell started wobble all over the joint? A strong, stable wrist is a strong, stable shoulder. So if you can get that wrist to that position there, the shoulder is going to be stronger. Practice this as well in a second. The other thing is, grip strength is directly related to shoulder stability as well. So if someone's got crappy grip strength, and that's where people go here, oh, I just can't grip it. Well, I'm probably happy to let them try and figure that out.
Just can't grip it.
Back down for me, Grace. Right, I'll let you
Sorry.
And then the last progression you can do with this is the same exercise here, but then add the shoulder packing drill that we just worked on. Control that shoulder, go up in your Turkish get up, add it up here as well. Yeah. So you're working on that control and separation through different ranges of motion and positions. So you think here I'm very sagittal, you think as I roll up here, I'm very in that frontal plane as well. Then try to do your rotations. Brace your back.
Oh, sorry. So I was retired. What am I doing?
Actually, the rotations.
Oh, yeah.
Alright, we've been doing this in my groups as a warm up pretty much all year. Jake's do the rotations. Legs up. Use one of the many reasons why I love it. Grace is going to pin her shoulders back into the floor. She's going to let her knees roll down towards the down palm. So one palm down, one palm up. Let the knees go. Good. And come back up. So what we're getting here is an appropriate assessment of where the shoulders are, because you can feel them coming off the floor. So you're learning about what is retraction. You're adding thoracic rotation. So you're getting mobility through where you want mobility. You're getting stability where you want stability. Yeah. You enjoy what you're doing?
So it's just like
the other thing to watch for here, getting away from the shoulder a little bit, is that as those knees drop that way, you're actually getting lumbar extension, not thoracic rotation. So it's really important that those hips stay at 90 degrees. You see that shoulder straight away. So it's a mobility drill, but it's also an activation drill. That's why I like this instead of just doing bow and arrows, because you're getting activation through your obliques. You're activating their lower threshold core and activating a rotation pad, which we don't have enough of in the world, so I don't think. We're activating scapular stability. And we're getting thoracic mobility as well, as opposed to doing bow and arrows where you're just laying there and going thoracic mobility. It's a really nice exercise. We'll practice that in a second. The reason you always go towards the down palm is because you're pushing into that hand. You're engaging that lat, which is going to come across and into this glute here, so you're activating that posterior sling as well. You've got that palm up towards the roof to open up that pec, because again, most people want to come here, open up that hand there, and if they can stay back in the floor, they've got good shoulder function. Last one, we got self-lifting theravant press. Let's do this. So get a mini band, we're just going to chuck it on our shoulder. If that shoulder stays back where it should be, you can push out. Yeah? Like so. So if I've got someone that's got any sort of shoulder issues, or people that have postural issues but not necessarily shoulder issues, they're doing this and showing me that they can do this exercise before they're allowed to do push-ups or bench press or anything like that. You get an untrained person with poor posture and you put them on a bench press, they're potentially going to help you. Yeah? Versus spending not long practicing this gets them trained before you have to worry about it in that part. Key things to look for is if they push down, it's actually easier because they're more in that non-provocative zone as opposed to mid-provocative, or lumbar extension. If they do that, if I just straighten my throat, my lumbar's fine again, I'm actually still there. So you want that good set and push forward there. Oh,
What's the bad one look like?
bad one. Band just doesn't stay on. So you get a lot of people who will go like this, and they might be able to just push short range, but again, as they start to move out to there, they can't keep that shoulder back and that arm up here at 90 degrees of flexion. They'll just be able to do here. But then just gradually over time, they'll get there. Because your body always wants to find efficiency there. So if it can't do what you're asking it to do, it'll get annoyed. Yeah? And this is where I always say that just pretend you're not intelligent, let me do my job, because if I give you the right exercise, your body will just figure it out. Just try and achieve the time. Push down as far as you can, keep your shoulder back. Cool. You can use the light, yeah, it's the first one I grabbed. Cool. Thanks guys.